Robservations with Meyer Burnett.
Swag Props is here. Kal is here with a letter that's quite topical. Hi, Rob, and the Post-Geek Singularity. I've written to you several times before about my disdain for new Trek shows like Discovery and Picard. So this time I thought I'd wax rhapsodic about a new show that I just finished watching the first season of and that I truly enjoyed. And that show is For All Mankind. As you know, the show aired on Apple TV at the end of 2019 before the world went to hell in a handbasket. I'm not sure why I put off watching it all this time, and after finishing the final episode of Season 1, I thought to myself, man, I should have watched this sooner. For All Mankind is a wonderful series that has been put together with care by people who actually know what they're doing and who know how to tell stories involving humanity and the early days of space exploration. The quality writing is no surprise, considering it comes from Ronald D. Moore and Naren Shankar, who have given us some of the best episodes of the Berman-era Star Trek, the rebooted Battlestar Galactica, and of course, more recently, The Expanse. Like his other shows, Moore infused the material with as much authenticity as he could, whether it be character growth or set design and aerospace procedures. To quote you, this show has peak verisimilitude. For All Mankind takes place in an alternate history where the Soviet Union was the first country to land on the moon, beating the U.S. by a handful of weeks. In the fateful summer of 1969, beaten to the punch, the U.S. doesn't retreat from the Soviets' victory, tail between its legs, but instead it revitalizes its efforts and pushes to make the American space program even more robust with the aim of colonizing the solar system, starting, of course, with the moon. So instead of the Apollo space program petering out slowly as the public loses interests in our own reality, the space race never cools off in the show's alternate timeline. Much of the first season's action happens in the Apollo-era Mission Control Center and features alternate versions of real historical figures, like Deke Slayton, Gene Kranz, and Wernher von Braun, as well as new characters like Ed Baldwin, played by Joe Kinnaman, Gordo Stevens, played by Michael Dorman, etc. For All Mankind has created a completely authentic recreation that could not be told apart from the real thing in Houston. The perks of having tech consultants like Mike and Denise Akuda, who actually know sci-fi, unlike other shows that call themselves sci-fi but are anything but, wink, wink. This show looks amazing, has vibrant cinematography, robust montage work, and strong period design. The whole season unfolds over 10 one-hour episodes and other historical intricacies playing out in the background. How all these profound missteps affect the American political landscape is interesting, with Nixon falling to Ted Kennedy instead of resigning, for instance. The voice acting for both these political figures are absolutely astonishing. You'd be hard-pressed to tell if they weren't authentic Nixon-Kennedy audio clips, I know. In the first episode of Season 2, Johnny Carson. Some of the initial reservations about the show, when its first trailer dropped online, was directed at the inclusion of women astronauts in the Apollo program, which, with some thinking it would be yet another of those woke and preachy shows. After watching the first season, I know that's not the case. The show is so well written and the characters well developed that the narrative towards gender equality is actually justified as part of the story of the space race between the U.S. and the USSR. It does not in any way come across as woke or preachy, unlike in some other shows that think themselves as progressive but are anything but. Wink, wink. Those are actually written into the letter, by the way. Overall, the show's cast, both male and female, go above and beyond in portraying nuanced and grounded characters, even if some liberties were taken with historical figures. My only one complaint is the Mexican family subplot, which I found to be disconnected from the main story. At the end of the first season, it has zero bearing on the main plot machinations thus far. Overall, I found For All Mankind to be a drama that is as compassionate as it is compelling. Watching it certainly made me wish we had storytelling of this caliber on the new Trek shows instead of what we're actually getting. I do hope Ron Moore will continue developing the show, though, and that his new deal with Disney won't affect it. Season 2 will be set in the best decade, the 80s, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to try and be patient and wait for at least halfway through the season to start watching it, though. I hate having to wait a week to see the next episode. As it is, I'm already pulling out my hair waiting for the next episode of WandaVision. Anyway, those are my thoughts for All Mankind. I've heard you speak fondly of it too, and would love to hear more of your thoughts on the show. Stay safe and take care. Best regards, Kal, a.k.a. Swag Props. Kal, I love For All Mankind. I grew up a space freak, and I think the parallel tracks that For All Mankind is taking with the actual history of what happened and then their alternate history is actually pretty amazing. I loved the first episode of season 2. I thought it was really uplifting, and yet it shows the incredible danger of outer space to human life. We'll see how that plays out. I think the show is wonderful. And you know what? This might seem a little wacky, but I want For All Mankind in my head canon to be the pre-prequel series to Star Trek. I see For All Mankind, and I have to believe that Naren and Ron Moore were thinking about this. For All Mankind is the history of the Star Trek universe. We are seeing it now. That's how I watch it. That's how I watch the show. I know there's not going to be any direct correlation, or is there? But I haven't seen it yet. But that's how I think about it. I'm like, this is the if they made a Star Trek show, like I can't help but think that Enterprise could have been this kind of show. If For All Mankind, if it was called Star Trek For All Mankind, how cool would that have been? And they literally started this Star Trek show and played it out. I mean, to me, wouldn't that have been great? And you show the births of the space program and the alternate history. Because this idea that Star Trek, I don't like this idea that Star Trek is supposedly our history. That, you know, even when Greg Cox, and I like Greg Cox's writing, when he wrote about the eugenics wars and he had to reconcile the fact that our world never had the eugenics wars. I'm like, no, it wasn't supposed to. Our world is not the Star Trek world. It's similar, and I see For All Mankind as the history of the actual Star Trek universe itself, leading up to the original series, Enterprise and the original series. At least that's kind of how the way I see it. I really love it. I love the micro and the macro. You've got the travails of our characters and their emotional travails and family matters and things like that, but yet you also have space. And I love, you know, I think there's an element for me, a twinge of sadness in all the episodes, because it's showing us the future as it was supposed to develop, not the future that did develop. I mean, seeing electric cars in 1983 because they were byproducts of space exploration and the advances that we had to make, and them citing, they have throwaway things like, well, you know, our patents that we have on this stuff. It just makes me realize what a damn shame the end of the space race was to this country on every single level. I think where we are now, 40 years, well, 38 years. I mean, we're now 38 years from the second season opener of For All Mankind. Where would we have been if we never stopped our space program? But on the other hand, you know, watching it the same week as we land the Perseverance probe on Mars, and for the first time you can actually watch that thing land on the Martian surface, maybe we might be 40 years too late. Maybe I can regret the fact that I wasn't born in a different time, but still pretty cool. It's a great, great, great show. I really love it. It's not perfect, but it's great for me.